Welcome to IMRAN Star Video, or as we call it, ISVi, the collaborative lens on Vancouver, unfiltered, unscripted, and powered by community. We're not just a voice behind the mic. We're a collective of creators, thinkers, storytellers, and city lovers coming together to spotlight the people, places, and energy that make Vancouver what it is. From coast mountain skylines to neon-lit backstreets, we're covering everything from downtown buzz to the untold stories shaping our scene. You'll find us exclusively on YouTube. No algorithms, no filters, just real talk. For behind the scenes, updates, and chaotic brilliance in real time, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. So hit subscribe, drop a comment, and help us grow from 100 to 10,000 and beyond. Because this isn't just our platform, it's yours too. Turn it up, get into it. Let's talk Vancouver. This is ISV. Let's get one thing straight. Living in Vancouver is already financially unhinged. So if you're going to throw your money at housing, why not do it in a way that lets you live your quirky aquatic dreams and maybe make eye contact with a curious seal during your morning coffee? Floating homes, yes, actual houses that live on water like they've got main character energy in a Studio Ghibli film, are the West Coast's answer to both the housing crisis and the I need to feel something real vibe shift. In a city where $1.8 million gets you a view of someone else's balcony and the ambient hum of traffic despair, floating homes feel like a loophole written by someone who rage quit land-based living. You don't just own a home, you own a vibe. It's real estate with sea legs. It's giving if Noah had an Etsy account. It's what happens when cottagecore merges with climate anxiety and a Pinterest board called minimalist sea witch aesthetic. Floating homes aren't houseboats. We'll unpack that in the next section. Stay tuned. And they're not just Instagram bait for coastal grandmothers and kayak influencers. These are real homes with kitchens, bathrooms, and actual plumbing. Just, on water. Think waterfront condo, but the water is literally your backyard. You're not near the marina. You are the marina. And yes, people actually live in these things. Not just retired sea captains and eccentric ceramicists. Although, let's be real, those are always welcome. Young couples, remote tech workers, minimalist Gen Z creatives who would rather live on a dock than sign a 25-year lease for a concrete shoebox. They're out here, floating and thriving. So what's it really like to live in a floating home? Is it serene and peaceful like a meditation app commercial? Or is it a slightly damp fever dream where the floor wobbles and your Wi-Fi ghosts you mid-zoom? Spoiler? It's a little of both. But one thing's for sure, it's way more interesting than paying $3,200 a month to cry in a hallway facing basement suite. Welcome to the wild, weird, and wonderful world of floating homes, where your neighbors might be ducks, your floor might creak like a haunted ship, and your front door leads to a dock instead of a lobby. Let's dive in. Metaphorically. Please don't actually dive. That water is freezing. Okay, before we go any further, let's clear up a deeply misunderstood and aggressively misrepresented fact. Floating homes are not houseboats. We know Chad, with his boat shoes and unsolicited crypto advice, has questions. But no, you cannot steer it around False Creek. And no, it's not just like living in a van, but wetter. Here's the deal. A floating home is a permanent, non-motorized structure built to float on water. It's like if your tiny house and a barge had a baby, and it grew up to gentrify the marina. Floating homes are docked full-time at a marina or water lot, connected to sewage, power, and internet like any respectable 21st century home. They don't have engines. They don't drift off in the middle of the night unless something has gone horribly wrong, and they definitely don't count as boats for licensing purposes. Houseboats, on the other hand, are basically aquatic RVs. You can drive them, legally float around, and usually have a sad little outboard motor that sounds like it's one bad decision away from exploding. They're more about mobility and vibes. Floating homes, they're stationary, stable emotionally and structurally, and fully committed. Basically, houseboats are Tinder. Floating homes are in a long-term relationship with the dock. Floating homes are also built to actual building code, which means they have to meet the same construction standards as land homes, except they also need to survive wind, tides, and the occasional rogue canoe crash. Many of them are multi-level, feature full-size kitchens, real bathrooms, and surprisingly bougie finis things like rooftop patios and water view bathtubs. They're not boats with sinks. They're homes that just happen to float harder than your finances during tax season. And no, you don't need to know how to sail, tie nautical knots, or have watched The Perfect Storm to live in one. You might need to learn how to fend off curious otters and how to politely but firmly tell tourists that no, you're not an Airbnb. But that's part of the charm. So the next time someone squints at a floating home and asks, is that like a houseboat you live in full time? Feel free to hit them with this analogy. Houseboat equals sign your emotionally unavailable ex who's always on the move. Floating home equals sign your cozy, stable, mortgage-holding life partner who knows how to cook. Big difference. So let's say you've made peace with the idea that your home floats, and no, you're not steering it around like an aquatic Uber. Now comes the real question, is it actually worth it? Short answer, yes. Long answer, imagine living inside a Bob Ross painting but with Wi-Fi and a composting toilet. That's the vibe. First off, the view game is elite. We're talking front row seats to sunset so good they make your apartment-bound friends cry into their LED therapy lamps. Wake up to the sound of water gently slapping the dock and seagulls yelling existentially overhead like the emotionally unstable sky pigeons they are. It's like living inside a meditation app, except you don't have to pay a subscription fee to hear birds and waves. And forget traffic, unless you count the occasional kayak bro paddling by with a man bun and a Bluetooth speaker blasting Bon Iver. Floating homes offer a rare type of urban peace that feels both magical and mildly suspicious. You're still technically in the city, but it feels like you've escaped to a dimension where your landlord can't find you and capitalism can't scream at you through push notifications. Now let's talk about the community. Floating home neighborhoods are tight-knit by default, because if your neighbor's pipe bursts, you're also getting wet. It's giving marina block party, but with more nautical puns and fewer passive-aggressive hallway confrontations. People wave. They check on each other during storms. There's a weird but beautiful sense that if one house sinks, y'all are sinking together. That's solidarity, baby. And of course, there's the eco-friendly appeal. Many floating homes are designed to be energy efficient, water conscious, and environmentally sustainable, which means you get to feel superior about your carbon footprint and shower with a view of the horizon. Add some solar panels, a rainwater collection system, and a compost bin the size of a milk crate, and congratulations, you're now living your best post-apocalyptic cottagecore fantasy. Plus, your backyard? It's the water, literally. You can launch a kayak from your front steps, go paddle boarding before your Zoom meeting, or just dangle your feet off the dock while pondering life and the fact that your old apartment had windows that faced a brick wall. Floating home life isn't just aesthetically pleasing, it's soul recollaborating. So yeah, the vibes are immaculate. It's peaceful, it's surreal, it's delightfully quirky. Living on water gives you a level of main character energy that condo dwellers can only dream of. Just make sure you've got a solid mug collection, because sipping coffee with fog rolling in over the water, that's not just a moment, that's a lifestyle. So you've romanticized it, the fog, the ducks, the sea-kissed serenity. You're feeling like a modern-day sea witch, a minimalist mermaid, a Vancouverite who finally escaped the tyranny of drywall and landlocked rent. But let's be clear, floating homes may be vibes, but they are not for the faint of heart, weak of Wi-Fi, or casual about mildew. First off, maintenance. Living on water means everything is trying to destroy your house at all times. The weather, brutal. The moisture, aggressive. The seagulls, psychologically abusive. Floating homes are like the needy Tamagotchi of the real estate world, constantly requiring attention, checkups, and random middle-of-the-night panic inspections because your dock made a weird sound, and now you're convinced you're sinking. Oh, and speaking of moisture, get ready to wage war against mold. Living on the water is like living inside a giant aromatherapy humidifier that sometimes smells like kelp and regret. Dehumidifiers become your best friends. Your towel's never really dry. And that Pinterest dream of all white decor? Cute. But the mold also has design opinions, and they're not subtle. Then there's space, or, more accurately, the shocking lack of it. These homes are cute, cozy, and just big enough for your hopes, dreams, and maybe one houseplant that isn't emotionally fragile. Forget walk-in closets or guest rooms, unless your guests are okay sleeping in a converted pantry and using a composting toilet that hisses when you look at it wrong. Floating homes turn living simply into living surgically. And we haven't even mentioned the bureaucratic nightmare fuel. Insurance for floating homes, somewhere between expensive and emotionally traumatic. Zoning laws, confusing. Mortgage fees, random and eternal. You'll need to learn words like flotation integrity and marine piling assessment just to have a conversation with your mortgage advisor. If you thought regular home buying was a mess, floating homes are like trying to buy a condo while cosplaying as a pirate accountant. Oh, and let's talk about the weather. Rain, wind, and storms aren't just background noise. They're full-blown events. Ever tried sleeping through a windstorm while your home is swaying and the dock's groaning like it's haunted by a Victorian sailor ghost? Welcome to your new life. Hope you like drama. And lastly, the social factor. You'll either be hailed as a sustainable icon or treated like a novelty attraction. Be prepared for tourists who point, stare, and ask questions like, do you just sleep on the water? Yes, Brenda. That's literally the whole thing. Please stop taking photos of my window while I'm doing yoga. So while floating homes look peaceful and low-key, the reality is they're equal parts magical and mildly chaotic. You'll have moments of calm transcendence and moments where you're Googling how to waterproof your soul. And that's the trade-off. Let's kill the stereotype right now. Not everyone living in a floating home is named Captain Something or has a wind chime addiction. Yes, some residents do own nautical-themed throw pillows, but the community is far from just boat dads, coastal grandmas, or folks trying to live out their under the Tuscan Sea fantasy. In reality, the people who live in floating homes are as wildly diverse as the houses themselves. Think less boomer on a retirement victory lap and more millennial trying to escape the rental matrix with vibes and sea legs. You've got artists, environmentalists, remote tech workers, ceramicists who throw clay at 6 a.m., and yoga instructors who now permanently smell like cedar and self-actualization. And then there are the pragmatists, folks who saw Vancouver's real estate prices, blacked out for 5 minutes, and woke up owning a floating home because it was technically more affordable than a concrete box with no windows and suspicious carpet. These are people who've said, you know what? If I'm gonna go broke, I want to at least watch otters flirt outside my window while I do it. You'll also find a healthy number of eco-conscious humans living on floating homes. Because let's be honest, it's hard to ignore your environmental impact when your literal toilet is 6 feet from the Pacific Ocean. These are the folks who compost, filter their gray water, and make their own soap in tiny reusable jars. They don't just talk sustainability, they live it on water, with solar panels and zero tolerance for single-use plastics. And don't sleep on the younger generation of vibe chasers. Gen Zers and millennials looking for something more intentional, more grounded ironically, and a little less soul-sucking than high-rise apartment life. They're documenting their floating home journeys on TikTok with captions like, I left my 9 to 5 to live on the ocean and emotionally repair myself, while sipping ethically foraged tea and decorating their microlofts with driftwood and generational trauma. Floating home communities are also full of unexpected friendships and beautiful weirdness. Where else are you going to find a marine biologist living next to a DJ who only plays ambient well sounds and a retired welder building a lighthouse replica in his spare time? Nowhere. That's the magic. In short, the floating home crowd is a delightful cocktail of resourcefulness, romanticism, and chaotic good energy. They're not running from society, they're just choosing to bob peacefully next to it, preferably with a waterproof Bluetooth speaker and a strong sense of boundary setting. So next time someone assumes floating homes are just for retirees with boat shoes and a Costco membership, hit them with this truth. These are the pioneers of alternative living, equal parts cottagecore, Secor, and I'm one plumbing issue away from a breakdown, but it's worth it. So you've seen the Instagram reels, you've romanticized the ducks, and now you're thinking, wow, maybe I could live on a floating home and journal my way into emotional stability. Cute. But before you manifest your coastal fantasy, let's talk about the buzzkill that is bureaucracy. Because floating homes may look like freedom, but they come with paperwork thicker than oat milk foam. First off, let's shatter the dream early. Floating homes are not just whimsical houseboats you can buy off Craigslist with cash and a good vibe. These are legally defined residences, and getting one is more like buying a condo on hard mode. You'll need contracts, inspections, permits, marine surveys, and about 14 conversations with someone named Gary who will not stop referencing maritime law. And while you're not buying land because it's water, you're still buying a home, which means yes, you still get a mortgage, and yes, it's just as painful. Except instead of land title, you'll often get a moorage agreement, basically a fancy lease from a marina saying, you can park your life here, but don't get too comfortable, because technically, this dock still owns your soul. Now let's talk moorage fees, the monthly cost of existing in your chosen aquatic neighborhood. These can range from cute and manageable to I could have had a second mortgage on land if I wanted that level of pain. You'll pay for utilities, maintenance, and sometimes shared amenities like laundry, security gates, and one cranky heron who guards the recycling bins. Insurance? Oh, she's different. Home insurance for floating residences lives in its own emotionally turbulent category. You'll need coverage for your structure, contents, possible water damage, which, lol, obviously, and third-party liability in case someone wipes out on your slippery dock. Some companies even require marine-specific riders because, surprise, your house floats. And yes, that means they charge extra because they can smell your dreams. Oh, and don't forget about zoning laws and regulations, which vary from one marina to the next. Some places only allow floating homes if they were grandfathered in decades ago. Others require permits, environmental impact assessments, and 18 pages of paperwork that will make you question whether freedom is even real anymore. Want to make renovations? Cool. Hope you like navigating bylaws written in 1997 and approved by a board of people who still call email electronic mail. Even resale gets tricky. Selling a floating home isn't exactly a put it on Zillow and wait for the offers situation. You'll need a niche real estate agent who understands the market, the marine logistics, and how to stage a bathroom that occasionally lists to one side. It's niche. It's complex. It's giving real estate, Waterworld edition, but don't let the admin avalanche kill your vibe completely. If you're the kind of person who can navigate a marina and municipal bureaucracy with equal confidence, you're built for this life. Just know that while floating homes might be untethered from the ground, they're not untethered from the system trademark. Alright, so you've read the manifestos, seen the aesthetic Pinterest boards, and maybe even fantasized about waving at kayakers from your tiny floating balcony while sipping oat milk matcha. But let's pause the fantasy real quick and ask the realest question of all. Are you actually cut out for life on the water, or are you just running from your landlord and your feelings again? Living in a floating home isn't just about quirky charm and sea-scented serenity. It's a lifestyle, a commitment. It's the relationship equivalent of dating someone super hot, but extremely high maintenance, rewarding, unforgettable, but absolutely not chill. So before you pack your belongings into waterproof bins and sail off into the foggy Vancouver unknown, it's time to self-audit. First question, can you emotionally handle being a minimalist? Floating homes are cute, but they don't come with walk-in closets or space for your 13-step skincare routine shrine. If your identity is tied to your collection of seasonal throw pillows, you may want to emotionally downsize before you physically do. Living afloat means being intentional with every square inch, aka Marie Kondo would thrive here, and your clutter demon would not. Second, are you okay with your house rocking slightly during windstorms? Because it will. If you're prone to motion sickness or existential spirals, when the furniture creaks, floating home life might have you Googling land therapy on day 3. Not everyone's built to vibe while their foundation literally moves. Third, how's your patience with maintenance? Because the romantic floating lifestyle includes spontaneous repairs, marine inspections, and fun surprises like rogue barnacles or your plumbing system deciding it's done with this timeline. If you cry over a slow Wi-Fi signal or get overwhelmed by assembling IKEA furniture, the upkeep might spiritually end you. Fourth, do you thrive in quirky communities or require anonymous silence? Floating home neighborhoods are tight-knit, sometimes too tight. People will wave at you. There will be unsolicited potlucks. You will know when someone's having a fight based on the emotional tone of their wind chimes. If you're a community avoidant introvert, this might be your literal nightmare. But if you crave connection, shared sunsets, and boat gossip, you'll love it. And lastly, what's your motivation? Are you in it for aesthetics, sustainability, a cheaper alternative to soul-crushing city rent? Or are you hoping this new lifestyle will finally make your memoir interesting? Spoiler, it will. Just make sure your reasons are solid, because floating homes are not a phase. They are a full send commitment with ropes and algae. So, would you float or flop? If the idea of waking up to nature, taking your compost out on a dock, and talking about weather patterns like their family drama excites you, congrats. You might just thrive. But if you read this entire section while clutching your air fryer and screaming, "I need central heating," maybe visit a floating home first and keep your condo lease on standby. Final verdict: floating homes, 10/10 for aesthetics, 8/10 for practicality, 12/10 for personality. Now go forth and float, or at least support someone who does. And just like that, the city's pulse slows. But the story doesn't stop. You've been watching ISVi, IMRA and Star Video, where voices come together and the city speaks back. We're a crew, not a single face. A movement, not a moment. And every episode, that's built with you, for you, by all of us. From the seawall to the skyline, from underground voices to rooftop vibes, we're telling the stories that don't make the news, but make the neighborhood. If this episode hit, pass it on. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. Drop a comment and tell us what your Vancouver sounds like. We're building this together, clip by clip, story by story, from 100 to 10K to wherever this takes us. When we get there, we all show up. So until the next drop, stay loud, stay collective, and stay in it. This is ISV, signing off.